you started looking at franchises, and I believe whenever I talked to you, you had kind of narrowed down on a painting concept. Outside of the business part of the Art of Drawers, what else was it that appealed to you? Was it the founders, the marketing, the company? All right, I'm here with Brian Wilkerson with the Art of Drawers in Charleston, South Carolina. He's a newer franchisee for them, and I'll kind of let you talk about it, but when did you guys officially launch?
Official launch for marketing and kind of getting our name out there was back in probably first part of May.
So, before we get into the franchising, if you could just share a little bit about your background, like what did you do, currently, what did you do before this, and, like what kind of led you to this point, just a little bit about your background.
Sure, yeah. I have been in the consumer lending industry for about 15 years and, climbing the corporate ladder, applying for different positions as they popped up, and like last year towards middle of the year there was an opportunity to step into more of a director VP role, and as I was looking at it, it just didn't appeal to me, to step into that role from the position that I was in. And as I said, well, if that doesn't appeal to me, like what's next for me, like what am I going to do, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about, what other avenues could I go down for my career. Like I'm still motivated to do things and explore, but probably don't want to continue to climb the corporate ladder at this point. So business ownership has always been something that I thought about and wanted to get into. And I knew that once I started down that route, unless I had like a solid support system and some really good models to follow, it would be tough for me to kind of launch it and bridge that gap between corporate and business ownership.
And I think you're missing like the fun thing that you used to play golf.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was, and usually like when I'm at my corporate events and I'm talking about like what I did prior to getting into the consumer finance business, it was like, man, I was playing golf, taught golf for a little while out at Seabrook Island here in South Carolina, and then decided I had a couple of sponsors and a little bit of money saved up. So I hit a little mini tour for a little while. It was the Tar Heel Tour, then moved to the e-golf tour while I was on it. Now I'm not even sure what the name of it is now, but yeah, usually I'll tell that spiel and I'll say, and obviously I didn't make enough putts, and that's why I'm sitting here with you guys at the table right now. So,
blame the putter. Right?
Yeah, man, no doubt.
Yeah. Only if the lab putter was out whenever you were playing.
Sure, yeah, no doubt. I'm not sure if it was the putter or between the ears, but man, it's competitive out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Well, I think like that's going to be the one thing that most people are going to relate to, right? Like everybody wants to, like have some type of career, whether it's in something that they loved.
Yep.
What did that look like for you? Like, what did your golf look like for you, like as a kid and kind of coming up? Like, was this something you did in high school? Was it something that you were always wanted to do? Or was it just something that you just happened to be good at that you just kind of always dismissed?
Probably the latter there.
Yeah, okay.
And there was nobody in my family that played golf, really. Like nobody had, introduced me to it in my family. And then my mom's second marriage, she married a guy who was a golfer, and he took me to the driving range, and I was just like, this is pretty fun. I liked it. Started hitting some golf balls, and then, it came pretty naturally to me. So then I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll try out for the junior high team.
Yeah.
So I made it on the junior high team, and playing along with other sports. I just thought, golf was just something to do for fun in between baseball season or football season. And then as I got a little bit older and in high school, stepped on the football field and I realized I'm not the biggest guy out here and I'm not very fast. So I'm probably better fit to keep my energy focused on the golf course. And that's when I really started to hone in some skills and put a lot of work and effort into it.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So like you talked about before, like you were kind of just like, I'm not getting super jazzed. I'm not really excited about like climbing this corporate ladder.
Right.
And so you started looking at franchises. And I believe whenever I talked to you, you had kind of narrowed down on a painting concept. We talked about a couple of other ones. Like outside of the business part of the Art of Drawers, what else was it that appealed to you? Like was it the founders, the marketing, the company? Like what was it that you felt like was appealing?
So, like one of the major things that appealed to me, and I'm not sure if this is what you were going for, but
it's all good. Yeah.
When I brought all these options home and the different the franchise opportunities, and I started to vet them out, I had a conversation with my wife about it, and the Art of Drawers just really made sense to her. It was a product that she could relate to, that she really wanted to have it in her house, and I think that meant a lot to have her support. Number one, and then two. I feel like the end goal of what Art of Drawers is trying to provide, which is, the product we provide is very functional. It's beautiful. It is high quality, but at the end of the day, like what it's doing for, say, the 55 plus community and keeping their spaces safe for them to move around in and navigate kitchens, that means a lot, right? Like you're adding some value to some folks' life, and you're going to see that instant impact when you do these installs for some folks. So I like that side of it, and also the business side and the model and the way it was set up for how my career kind of needs to transition. It made sense for me.
Yeah, gotcha. So for people who don't know about Art of Drawers, and people who don't, what is Art of Drawers? What kind of value do you bring to people's homes? So share with people what is Art of Drawers.
So Art of Drawers, we as our founder, Alan Young, would say, we're turning your frustrations into joy, right? So we are providing custom drawer pullouts in kitchens. We do it in pantries. We do it in mud rooms, laundry rooms. We can even explore some antique furniture and matching up woods for that, but the increasing the functionality in the space, right? We're going to increase functionality. We're going to increase your storage and organization in the spaces. So it's going to become that area in the kitchen where I know, like for me, the area that I would get frustrated with was whenever I was in the cabinet and it's on this half shelf on the bottom, and it's this stack of bowls that weigh like 50 pounds, and you need the one on the bottom. You got to get on your knees and you're pulling it out. So this, the system that we put in, you roll the drawer out, you grab what you need, it's super easy. So those are some of the services and really the foundation of what Art of Drawers is built on. Some of the newer services is cabinet refacing that we're beginning to offer here in the Charleston market. The franchise, like the Atlanta partners have already launched their refacing, and things seem to be going really well. So refacing cabinets, keeping you from having to update your entire space, right? So if you're happy with the layout of the kitchen, if you're happy with the countertops, and there's, you don't want this major construction going on in your house for several weeks, like this is a non-invasive way for us to come in, give you a whole new look and a whole new feel to the space.
Okay. So if I'm a customer and I'm looking at doing this, like, do you guys do paint matching? Like, what's the, how far do you guys go? Is this a finished product that you guys are offering?
For the refacing?
Yes.
Yeah. So there is a book, like if you've seen like some of the Sherwin-Williams palettes on colors.
Sure, yeah.
Like it's so extensive. So there's so many different colors that you can choose from. And what we would do is we're going to take off the door faces and drawer faces, and we're going to give you a new look, whether it's the shaker style that you're going for, just some of the traditional faces.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to put a new covering on all the existing cabinets that are on like hung on the wall or on the floor level. Update the color scheme for that, and then we're going to put the new doors and drawers on, so you get a whole new look.
So like, what are, like, we kind of talked about this before we started rolling here. What is it that like I'm looking at Art of Drawers, I pull it up as a consumer, I pull it up online, I'm like, okay, they're drawer pullouts, okay, which are nice to have.
Sure.
They're really nice.
Sure.
What functionality, as a real world example, are you guys doing outside of the, are there other things? And I think I've seen where you like have a drop down for like a microwave and stuff like that.
Sure.
So what are some of the cool products that people may not know that you guys offer?
So there are, like if you can imagine it, we can kind of create it most of the time within reason. And I love when folks have some examples of ideas that they've been like sorting through, like on Pinterest, and it steers me in the right direction. But,
sure. Yeah.
For instance, this past Saturday, I was out on Johns Island, and the lady out there, she loves to bake with her grandkids, right? But getting out that 100-pound KitchenAid mixer out of the cabinet and dragging it up on the counter, she just dreaded it. And she was just like, I'm finding myself to do other things with them as opposed to something that I really enjoy, because I just dread pulling it out. So we come into the space, we find the spot that she wants to have it. We fabricate the cabinet door and drawer so that it's functioning as one. We install the mixer lift in the cabinet space so that now she just reaches down, pulls it up, and she has it easy access right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. So like from a business perspective, whenever you're analyzing different types of businesses, and let's say that you were looking again at painting or roofing, and like you kind of have this, these thoughts in the back of your head, like, how am I ever going to find somebody to do this stuff?
Sure.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that Art of Drawers manufactures these things at a facility and ships them to the customer. Is that correct?
So yeah, well, we everything is made in the U.S., right?
Okay.
Like we pride ourselves on that. Like it's American-made product. We're using solid hardwoods, dovetail joints. So these the boxes aren't only the aesthetics aren't just great, but they're very functionable, and they're like the dovetail really gives it the structural integrity that it needs to have that lifelong guarantee that we offer.
Okay.
Then the manufacturers, we've got one in North Carolina that ships us a lot of stuff, one in Pennsylvania, there's one in the Midwest, but we'll get the materials shipped to our warehouse.
Okay.
And once it's shipped there, we'll go through it and inspect it. When you're shipping hardwoods, sometimes some things can happen, so it's good for us to get our hands on it first and not going to the customer, so that we can do a reorder on some things that if something comes in, it's not the way it should be.
Right. And so like from an install perspective, you don't have to sit on a huge install team or anything like that. Like, so what does install look like? Like you're not going there to install these drawers, are you? Or are you the one that's drawing
So initially I thought I was just going to outsource all of it and have an installer do it. And I started down that road at first. And then I felt like I didn't have the context to the job as I needed it. So I went to, we do like a certification and training in Atlanta that they put us through, and it trains you on how to do all this stuff.
Okay.
So I went, did that, and like anybody that's a partner with Art of Drawers, like I think that's just a must.
Right.
And I learned so much. And then when I came back, I wanted to do some of the installs myself. So I've been, the last few I've done myself. And I've learned a lot along the way, right? And I think it's going to help me with my design team and training them on what to do with certain spaces, what's possible, what's not, what would be more of a headache than a solution, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm learning a ton. I've got an installer that's ready to go. He's kind of like been shadowing with me on the job, and I feel like it's the best way for him to learn is like, hey, these are my expectations, this is my standard, and this is how I want things completed. As opposed to me just kind of telling him, I'm showing, right? Yeah. Which I think is a better environment to learn in.
Right. Would you see that this is, or would you say that, people are seeing this as a luxury in their home, but once they get it installed, it feels more practical? Like this is like something that like I had drawers at my last house, and I couldn't have lived without these.
Right.
So like, how do you bridge that gap, because this is a nice luxury thing to have in your kitchen.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is it's a luxury to have it for some of us, right? Like I can get down on the ground, I can get on my knees and get into the back of the cabinet if I need to. I don't want to, but I can.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. So then you have some folks that just have some limited mobility issues and they can't do that. And if they do, it's a real strain on them. So there's some folks where it's a necessity for them and they really need it in order to have their space function in a way that they feel like they're independent, right?
Yeah, sure.
Now for folks like us, once you have it in your space, you realize like there's no other way to have my cabinets organized other than having these custom solutions that just, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I don't know about you guys, but we're cooking probably 4 to 5 days a week, right?
Yeah.
And we enjoy that, and we enjoy that time together. And then when you're in the space and you're using it, and it's, we set up the space so that it flows with how you're utilizing your kitchen. It just, turns a lot of those frustrating moments, or I can't find this.
Right.
So you do it without it, or you end up buying another one, but you already have like 5 in the back of the cupboard. Like,
yeah.
So
how often have you been on a call to give someone a quote and you get there and you kind of mentioned this earlier, like you don't just need drawers, you need a whole kitchen.
Yeah.
And so like, where's the line there? You know, like what type of condition do I want my kitchen to be in to be able to do this? And like, you know, are you finding that you're, you know, in a situation where you're telling people they just need to redo everything, or are you finding yourself in a position where, you know, drawers are a good solution?
Yeah, there's a few spaces that I've went into, and you know, maybe the space was capable of being upfitted, but the customer's indecisiveness on what they actually wanted to do with the space really leads me to say, hey, I'm not sure you know what you want yet, and I'm not sure you're ready to commit to,
right,
you know, maybe a refacing job or doing the drawers in your cabinets if you're not happy with the countertop and you're thinking about doing some major renovations. Then I would kind of rethink the idea of upfitting at this point. But if we go into a space and they're happy with the countertop, they're happy with the layout, and they're just looking to refresh the look or increase the accessibility and functionality of the space, then yeah, the integrity of the cabinets, that has to be there. You can't have, you know, the cabinets that have had a lot of moisture in them that won't hold weight when we tack these rails to the sides of the insides of the cabinets and stuff. So yeah, I hope that answered the.
Yeah, that's good. So, what do you think is like what's been the biggest surprise for you, just as a business owner? You know, whether that's with Art of Drawers or just owning a business, like what's been the biggest surprise for you over the past 4 months?
Biggest surprise. There's been a few surprises. I guess from like just operating the Art of Drawers itself and seeing like how you change the people's lives that you go and visit and do these installs for, and how happy they are with the product. And once you have it in and they've used it, and you go back and just do the while tours, or what we call them, just to make sure everything was installed the way that we intended it to be, and everything's functioning the way we intended it to. And you know, you get people that want to give you a hug, right? Like they're coming in. But yeah, just that side of it, and seeing the emotion for some folks that have limited mobility, and you add this to the space. So that's been great, right? And that's a big surprise. And you know, and back to the beginning of when we started talking, like I felt like that's one of the reasons why we went towards Art of Drawers, just because the impact, right? Like I get to see some of that gratification of, you know, the design process, the build, the install, and then they get to utilize it. So you know, from a business operating standpoint, the surprise has been like how figuring out like your marketing, right? Like, and how you're going to navigate your local market and what you're going to have to do in order to get things moving. And I really feel like franchise is going to provide you with a lot of support, right? But at the end of the day, like, you have to be a business owner and you have to have that mentality. Nobody's going to hold your hand and drag you through this thing. You have to figure it out kind of as you navigate. And as I got more comfortable with the business and the business model, and after we got some installs and stuff under our belt, I started to explore other options locally. You know, that means getting out in the community. Went to a Chamber of Commerce event yesterday evening about aging in place kind of thing.
Okay.
Just to kind of network and meet some folks there. And then, you know, getting into some of these 55 and plus communities and just finding the lifestyle coordinators to network with, and slowly build that, you know, those contacts and connections that are going to help you grow and sustain your marketing capabilities in the market. So
it's finding your niche. You know?
Yeah, it's like, what, you know, we offered this awesome product. How do I tell people about it, right? Like,
right.
And you know, I can't just our demographic isn't necessarily the demographic that's perusing through Instagram, right? So I've got to find some old school, other like boots on the ground methods in order to kind of spread the word, get it out there, and let people know what we have to offer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So like, you know, I think as somebody who's evaluating franchises, like people are probably listening to this, maybe like looking at different franchise opportunities. Yeah. That's one of the things I think that they will get hung up on. Yeah. How am I going to find business, and who am I going to hire to do the work? Like those are like the two big things.
Yeah.
Like I think you're heading down that direction of like,
right.
What does it take from a business owner standpoint to go find business that's separate from whatever franchisor support? So maybe if you wanted to expand on that just a little bit more, like what have you been doing for the past 4 months to help build your business from an ownership standpoint, from being the owner of the business?
So yeah, like some of the marketing things that I've done and some of the campaigns that I've sourced here locally, going back to home office marketing team and talking to them through some things, there's been some disagreements that we've had, and they've suggested I do one thing and I do another, which is, I think it's fine, right? Like I'm looking for some folks that have opinions on what we do, and they're well versed on how to market these products and some of the avenues that I was going down. So there was a local mailer that I found, and I just I had great reputation, and all the feedback that I had from the business owners that were marketing in it just was tremendous response to that mailer piece. And I go back to my home office, and they're stuck on the cost per thousand.
Sure.
And at some point you've got to ignore the statistics and go with your gut feelings on some of these things.
Sure.
And that's what I did with that. And it's been one of the most successful campaigns that I've ran since we launched. So that's, we started with, that kind of mailer marketing campaign. We got the pay-per-clicks with the SEO, search engine optimization with Google.
Yeah.
We got some of that going now. We just started that a couple of months ago. So curious to see where that's going to take us.
Does that go to you, or does that go to a call center?
It goes to the call center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they book their appointments for you?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a local number. So, we want them to know that we are local, but that call center just is a tremendous help to keep us organized and
no doubt.
be there, answer the phone. So,
yeah.
One of the other marketing campaigns I went down was the News 2. I had a lady there that I've been working with on some of the things that they're capable of doing. And you think News 2, all right, commercials, right? Like I'm going to be on the news.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily all that they have to offer. Like once you get and explore what Nexstar actually does as a media group, they got some pretty cool things. One of the cool things that I just found was this geo video. Okay. And what they can do is, so for these 55 plus communities that I'm going to be going into, they can target just that neighborhood, and they can start to push in some of our 30-second commercials into the neighborhood on streaming services.
Oh, interesting.
So before I go in and do a kind of workshop or lunch and learn, maybe they've seen us on, a 30-second set on advertising. So
okay, that's very cool.
So it's just in finding what's out there. I mean, you got to beat the streets. You got to talk to other business owners, and you go down every avenue. You might not think it's going to lead to anything, because I didn't think the News 2 was going to lead to anything. I thought this is a little too far ahead of where I am right now from an investment standpoint in marketing. I didn't want to have that big of a risk in my marketing spend right off the rip, right?
Sure.
I think 2 or 3 years in makes total sense, right? Like I'm ready to take some more risk with marketing and see where it leads. But going down that, that avenue with them has just led me to a couple other campaigns that they're going to launch for me as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So like, I was telling Ian, who was here before, like, building that referral business. Yeah. And just, you never know, like action leads to more action, and just create some type of momentum,
Yeah.
And then that's going to lead to more business.
Yeah.
So,
and I think anytime you have an opportunity to start a conversation about it, spread the word, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if it doesn't lead to an immediate.
Have you partnered with like cabinet makers or anything like that, or?
So I've talked to a few in the area. There's one over by the Ion.
Okay.
Talked to a lady there, and we've worked on some kind of a partnership. Right before I came over here, found out that Cabinet IQ, which is another franchise,
right,
found out that we were going to be partnering up with them as a local cabinet company that provides, brand new cabinet installs, and they'll do countertops and all kinds of cool things. Like I was looking at their website right before I walked in. It seems like they have some great products, but they don't necessarily offer some of the functionality stuff that we do. So I think, Alan and his team's been working on this partnership for a little while, and it made a lot of sense. Like it checked a lot of boxes for both of us.
Right on.
So that's I'm excited about that. Possible opportunity coming up.
That'd be cool. As we wrap up here, as someone who is, again, an audience is looking at this podcast or listening in, they're thinking about exploring franchising, what advice would you give them as you've gone down this road?
So it depends on what your launch is going to look like, I feel like, and how you're going to start out in that business, right? Are you going to start out like fully committed to this business and this is all you're going to sink all your time and effort into? I think that would look a little different than myself. For me, what I was looking for was something that had, a call center, right, that we talked about. I needed somebody to help keep me organized with it. I wanted to stay in my corporate role and kind of have this as, my side business, side hustle, side gig, and see how I can transition into it. And then also you just be prepared. It's not going to be an instant cash flow, right? Like it just takes time. It takes time to build enough, customers in the pipeline, jobs in the pipeline in order to experience some of the cash flow. And for this one, like the Art of Drawers, one of the things that appealed to me was how quickly you could cash flow. And I'm starting to see it now. Like we're starting to get close to that 6-8 month range where I feel like we'll get to the point where the business is really paying for itself, right? You no longer have a hobby anymore, but feel like I have a business, right? But yeah, I think just being prepared for that first 6 to 8 months to be, touch and go as far as like, are you getting enough customers? Are you getting enough appointments? Are you landing enough jobs? And set your goals for yourself on a monthly basis. They give you the pro forma Excel spreadsheet to fill out to kind of say the what ifs, right? But I think once you're in it, you realize, all right, this is what my potential is for this month. This is my goal. Set a goal for yourself each month, move on, keep raising the bar a little bit at a time, clearing the hurdles. So, yeah.
So for people who are interested in finding Art of Drawers here in the Charleston market, how can they connect with you?
Art of Drawers Charleston on Instagram and Facebook, artofdrawers.com. You click on the link there. You can schedule appointments, learn about some of the services and products that we do provide. There is a local number, and you put me on the spot, and I don't remember it. But there's a local number that you would find it at Art of Drawers. If you just Google Art of Drawers Charleston, it's going to pop up, and you'll see it in there.
Cool. All right, man. I appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Yeah.